Hi, my name is Megan Trainer, and I'm the athletic trainer for Rehab to Perform, and I'm contracted out to St. John's Catholic Prep as their athletic trainer for all their sports. So first topic we're going to talk about today is what a concussion is, and the frequently asked questions that go along with concussions. A concussion is a big topic out there that you hear nowadays. It's a traumatic brain injury that happens either from a blow to the head or even a blow to the body that creates a chemical imbalance within the body from the brain twisting back and forth or front to back. As we talk about concussions, the big thing to look for is different signs and symptoms. So signs and symptoms to look for when it comes to a concussion. The biggest one is headache. Usually you almost always have a headache to some extent when you have a concussion. Now that's not to say you can not have a headache. That happens too, but most of the time everybody has a headache to some extent. So headache, blurry vision, loss of consciousness, sensitivity to light and sound, trouble concentrating, trouble going to sleep, things like that. Those are the biggest ones that you'll see with concussions. One thing that a lot of people don't know about is what's called second impact syndrome. So everybody talks about like, oh, why is it bad for me to go back into play when I still have a concussion or I still have those symptoms? So the reason for that is something called second impact syndrome, which when your brain is already still chemically imbalanced and adjusting to that first concussion, you still have symptoms, you get a second blow that causes another concussion, and more often than not results in death. Obviously, it's a more rare condition, not something you want to deal with, obviously, but that's the big worry when it comes to going back to play when you still have concussion symptoms. So a big myth that comes along with concussions. Everybody thinks about, and more of an old school train of thought, is that you can't let them go to sleep when they have a concussion. Now, believe it or not, that's actually counterintuitive to what we really want. Now, that's not to say being parents, you obviously want to check on your kids. You can monitor them while they're sleeping, making sure their breathing pattern is normal, their skin tone looks fine, like monitoring them normally like that, but actually waking them up or keeping them awake is counterintuitive because rest is the best thing for a brain for concussion. Really, we want them to get that quality sleep, and as much sleep as they feel like they need is what they need to get better. Now, if you're worried about, well, what are the things I need to look out for, or things I need to be aware of further after they leave my care and go home with you that night. Now, if they start vomiting, if they have any increase of symptoms, like their vision goes blurry or anything changes like that, severe changes with any symptoms at all, you want to take them to the hospital to get them checked out. But usually that doesn't happen. Most of the symptoms come on between 10 to 15 minutes after the concussion happens. So what you're also going to talk about is, well, how does this affect school? Now, anytime you go to see a doctor, whether it's concussion or any kind of injury, you need to bring a note to school and a copy for me as well. Now, school tends to adjust what they have going on in each classroom, and they will do their own adjustments themselves, but I can always help facilitate that process. Lots of times they'll give you breaks and kind of push back dates of quizzes or tests so that it's not in the mix of a horrible, part of your concussion where you can't concentrate and obviously aren't going to function the way that you should. So if your son or daughter gets a concussion, you will receive a packet that looks like this, okay? Obviously from R2P. This is something that I've put together that has some information for you just on concussions in general, like we've talked about in this short video, but it has a couple of pieces of paper that are very important. So this first one is the medical clearance form that you're gonna have to take to the doctor to get it cleared when your son or daughter is symptom-free. A lot of people are like, oh, they're good to go. Just like we've talked about previously from second impact syndrome, all that kind of stuff, you need to be symptom-free to start any return to play protocol. In the state of Maryland, they have a fun return to play protocol that looks like this. So you are gonna slowly increase activity each day, and it has to be days apart. You can't do multiple steps in one day. So each day you go through, you do a little more activity. We increase it slowly depending on what your sport is, will depend on what you do for each step, but you have to complete these 6 steps for you to go back to a game. So with most concussions, obviously every single person, the recovery time is different. Now, most concussions, like 85% of them recover within 2 weeks. That's not to say that's 85%. Some are longer, some are shorter. Everybody's different, every concussion's different. Even if you've had one that you were out for a month, the next one may be real short. It's hard to tell. Everybody's different and there's no way to really pinpoint a time frame that somebody's going to be out for. That's why concussions are hard. This is our little talk on concussions. If you have any further questions, feel free to post below or shoot us an email. We will be more than happy to answer any questions that you have, and if we need to post anything further, we'll be glad to do it.